Section 6.5 is where you're going to graph linear inequalities. So we've already done some graphing before, so now we're going to put an inequality symbol in there, and there's your inequality symbol, the less than, greater than, etc. So I'm going to break it down into steps on this first problem. Step 1 is we're just going to graph the line. So this is already in slope-intercept. So I'm going to plot my y-intercept at 4, and then I'm going to use my slope and go down 1 and over 2. Now, before you draw in your line, on these kinds of problems, you are either going to draw in a solid line or a dashed line. If you draw in a solid line, it's because one of these two kinds of symbols was in the original problem. If you have one symbol like these two, without that line underneath there, then you're going to draw in a dashed line. In our case, we have a less than symbol with no line, so that means that I would draw in a dashed. The third step in here is that you have to shade. Now, if I have a less than or equal to symbol, I am going to shade below my line. So, if I have a greater than or equal to symbol, I am going to shade above. Now, making sure you understand what I mean when I say that. So when I say a shade above or below, it's depending on where your y-intercept's at. So here's my y-intercept of 4. If I have a less than symbol in here, I'm going to shade everything below that. So in this case, I'm going to shade everything below. If it had a greater than symbol, then I would go above that y-intercept. Okay, so when I'm talking about above or below, I'm referring to the y-intercept to let me know which side of the line to shade in. Okay, you try the next one. So on the next one, you should have a point at 4. Your slope should be up 1 over 1. You should have a solid line going through there, and you should have shaded everything below that line. Alright, question 3. Now we're going to see what it looks like when you are in standard form. So remember, this is in the cover-up method. So even though they've switched these two around, we are still going to do the same thing. Or you can switch them back around, just make sure you have the correct signs with them. So I'm going to cover up the y. So I'm going to get negative x equaling 6. So I'm going to put a 1 in front of that x, and I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. So my x-intercept should be at negative 6. Then I'm going to come back and cover up the x, and I'm going to end up getting y equaling 6, so my y-intercept should be at positive 6. I have a symbol with a line underneath that, so that means I want to draw in a solid line. This is a greater than symbol, so I'm going to do everything above my y-intercept. So everything above that would be all of this space up here. You're going to pause the video and try the next one. So on the next one, I have my y-intercept at 5. My slope is a negative 1, so this is in reverse order. So I hope you paid attention and went down 1 and over 1. You should have a dashed line, and this is a less than symbol, so I'm going to do everything below that y-intercept, so everything below that line. Pause the video and try the next question. On the next one, you should be using the cover-up method. So if you cover up the y, you should be getting x equaling negative 2. If you covered up the x, you should be getting y equaling 1. Then you want to put in a dashed line because there's no line underneath here. And it's a less than, so that means I'm going to shade everything below my y-intercept, so that's going to be everything below my line. Alright, just a couple more here. Remember, we have some that are special lines. So if I have x greater than 2, that means I'm going to graph the line x equals 2. So that means on the y-axis I go to 2, and it's a vertical line that goes up and down. Again, there's no line underneath here, so I'm going to put a dashed line through there. I'm going to shade everything to the right because I want everything greater than 2. So I'm thinking about the x-axis. Here I'm at 2. If I'm moving along the x-axis, I would be getting bigger. If I move along this direction, I would be getting smaller. So that's why we're going to shade everything to the right, because I want greater than 2. Same thing for the reverse. If I have y less than or equal to -1, I'm going to put my horizontal line through -1. It's going to be solid because there's a line underneath there. This is a less than symbol, so I would want to shade everything below because that's where all of my numbers are getting less than. So here would be -1. If I moved up, I'd be getting bigger. If I moved down, I'd be getting smaller. So that's why we're going to shade everything below. Okay, so that's it for 6.5. So you want to make sure that you are doing 3 steps: graphing the line, checking if it's dashed or solid, and then you're going to shade one side or the other.